Welcome to Corrective Consciousness Podcast Episode 9. I'm your host, VyseTheBold.
And I am Lotus Prince.
And I'm Pyrojackfrost.
I'm a stranger.
Whoa. Oh no.
And a special fourth with us today. This is...
I am Luminaire. If you may have... I'm friends with everyone in person as well. It's just that I have yet to be as part of the podcast, but I'm very happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very happy to have you.
As always.
Yeah, and you're well known for your LPs as well. You've done quite a few, including some for Disgaea and other ones like that, right?
Define well known.
Well, you have quite a few followers, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole background. I was in the swing of things, but I haven't really been uploading for about 2 years now, which is lamentably the case.
You'll get back to it. We'll get you back in the swing. You'll be all right.
I mean, incidentally, Lotus and I had done an entire Let's Play, actually recorded, of Dead Space 3.
Mm-hmm.
That if I could only access my hard drive after having upgraded my computer, would have been uploaded months ago. I mean, when did we even record that?
It's been a while.
It's been a few months.
But I mean, like, it's possible. You know, like our friend Old Man Stompy had done an Alundra Let's Play that all of a sudden went on hiatus for over a year because his hard drive failed. But I think his brother was actually able to recover the file, so he was able to get the last something like really frustrating. Like, it was like there were only like 3 or 4 more parts left, and he like finally got them up this year, and it was super cool. So
well, I have no tolerance for any of this because our Police Knots LP was very speedy, if I remember.
Oh,
right.
it was perfect. I tolerate no less.
Same with Danganronpa.
That took us over a year.
Actually, it's kind of funny you mention that though, because the Danganronpa Let's Play, like the recording and everything went fine, but I hit a snag when I was putting up the 5th trial. Where,
a snafu, if you will.
Yeah, where like a certain cutscene happens, which I guess I haven't seen the anime, but I guess it coincided with something in the anime, so the video got straight up blocked. So I actually appealed to the Spike Chunsoft, like American branch, like PR guy to appeal to it on my behalf. So it got fixed in like a little over a week. So there was that.
Bit, but yeah.
Well, my subscribers are no strangers to technical difficulties.
Yeah, there we go. It happens.
Just put it that way.
It happens. I've had my share as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to our main segment. Let's move on to what we've done this week. In particular, I wanted to mention quite a few things. I usually take up most of the time here because I'm all over the place, but...
because you have so much free time.
Not really. I have probably less free time than anybody, which is kind of funny.
Dat ego.
Yeah, Ligu my ego.
I'm 10 times as modest as you are.
But anyway, as far as non-gaming stuff goes, I did want to mention, of course, we had an unfortunate passing of one of my favorite actors this week, Gene Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
Very unfortunate, but kind of a blessing because he was suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's. As far as that goes, I've been touched a lot by that, and it's not pretty. So I'm glad that he's in a better place when it comes to that. But in his honor, a select few movie theaters in the country were screening Blazing Saddles, which is just my favorite comedy of all time. And
I heard that some theaters were playing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or they were thinking of putting that back in theaters for a little bit.
That movie's
great. That would be awesome. But what I ended up doing was there was one about an hour away from me, and I went with a friend, and we watched it, and the whole theater was packed. Like, people were really there for it.
Well, when do you get the chance to see freaking, like, of all movies, Blazing Saddles?
I'd never seen it on the theater. When would I ever have that opportunity to see it on the big screen?
When it came out, like, and we missed that, obviously.
And people 70-something? 70?
I think so.
Yeah, it would have been late 70s. and it would have been Richard Pryor was actually supposed to have the lead role in it, but he was on too many drugs for the studio to like allow him. He broke his trust essentially, so which is a shame because Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor did some fantastic work together, but you know, it just ended up that they weren't comfortable with him. But the main character, I don't, unfortunately I don't know the actor's name. But
killed it.
He's fantastic. So it was great hearing everybody laugh to all of the jokes that I've always loved. You know, everybody there was a fan. People were mouthing out the you know, the beats and stuff.
Oh, it's great. It's one of those things that you
time.
never watch in a gigantic group. Like, you might watch it with some friends or something, but it's kind of like when they do those live riff tracks things. Like, you love watching Mystery Science Theater with like 1, 2, or 3 friends or whatever, but when you're in a whole theater experiencing it at the same time, like, it's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was really a good way to send him off, you know, in one of his best roles as the sidekick in that movie, and it's just a brilliant movie in general. And I also got a chance to see the interview with Mel Brooks that Jimmy Fallon had, and that was a really good tribute as well to Gene Wilder. And from all intents and purposes, like, Mel Brooks kind of has a bit of an ego about himself as well. I mean, you can't blame him; he's one of the best comedians of all time. But he does have an ego, and he said some really nice things about Gene. So
actually, speaking of,
really cool.
I don't know if this is directly related to the ego thing, but you know, like, the most famous scene in Young Frankenstein, the putting on the Ritz scene.
Putting on the Ritz, yeah.
Apparently that was Gene Wilder's idea, and Mel Brooks was not on board with it, and Gene Wilder threatens to just walk off if they wouldn't implement it, so they did, and it's a good thing they did.
I also saw a different interview with him this week because I just watched a bunch, and he said that he actually had come up with the idea of Young Frankenstein. Gene Wilder did, rather than Mel, and it's usually the opposite.
Wow.
And he was just watching, you know, a Universal horror film, and he was just like, no, I want there to be a happy ending, and I want this to be funny.
Speaking of Universal horror films, like, the Frankenstein's equipment was actually
the original.
Yeah, it was the actual props from Frankenstein. Like, that's amazing. And Gene Wilder said it was
really?
Yeah, and Gene Wilder like said
Frankenstein.
He couldn't believe it when he's just like he's in the movie basically.
Yeah, and that movie had several rewrites. They tried Senior Frankenstein, Middle-Aged Crisis Frankenstein, and eventually they settled for Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
And then there was Millennial
Gen X Frankenstein. Yeah.
Everyone calls you Igor, or everyone calls you Igor. Well, they're all wrong, aren't they?
I like Igor though.
Igor's pretty fantastic.
But anyway, that's what I did non-gaming wise, and I did want to get into a few things. I played a little bit more Deus Ex, but I didn't get much further. But I did want to share the I did get the scanning app working for my phone for the collectibles in that game, and what it does is it links you to some YouTube videos and interviews and stuff.
That's cool.
And they had a really cool interview about how in Human Revolution the theme was that, like, humanity was about to embark on something brand new. And things were hopeful, and then they just wanted to. They destroyed the status quo at the end of that. You know, things are not good at the end of that. And in Mankind Divided, it starts off with a much more somber outlook.
Well, yeah, I heard that the big difference between, in terms of general atmosphere, I heard the big difference between Human Revolution and Mankind Divided is that in Human Revolution you're becoming an augmented person, so you're kind of questioning your own humanity, like, how human am I really? But in Mankind Divided it seems that you've come to terms with that. But when you see just how god-awful all of the non-augmented people are, you're like, geez, are they human? Even though biologically they're more human than
human, basically, though, in terms of how they act instead of what they are.
Well, exactly. It's like, really? These are the people I've been associating myself with?
I mean, right off the bat, Jensen is is ostracized for being different.
Yeah.
By his the people he's working with. So he's already been outcasted, which is an inhumane thing to do from the get-go.
Human Revolution was the one that came in like 2011, 2012.
Yeah, that was the Blade Runner looking yellow Deus Ex.
I got quite a bit through that. To my recollection, it was I can't remember if were the Augs like sort of put upon him without really his consent, but to do the job.
Well, technically, yes. He got almost fatally wounded. Like he probably would have died, and then he went through and then he went through an experimental sort of recovery surgery where he got all these like super high tech Augs because his boss is like the guy. He's the boss of like Aug.com.
He lost both. He basically was just a torso at the beginning of the game.
Right, but when you said like what the dilemma was, and I was trying to recall the scenario.
Technically, it wasn't his consent, but it was a life-saving procedure. But now it's just like you're an Aug, so this is your life now. And he's like, what?
No, exactly.
Life is hell.
It was something that was foisted upon him, and so he's coming to terms between the two and how much is too much and such. And I like those kinds.
Yeah, and he starts seeing the seedy underbelly and like how people with Augs are kind of treated and everything, but he's still like, am I one of you guys though, really? And in Mankind Divided, he's like, yes, and he sees how crappy the normal humans are.
There's also an additional theme which I really like, is that he's also a target for being harvested. By other
that's
people
right. The harvesters in Human Revolution freaking sucked.
I love that. I love that. So not only is he ostracized in a social way, and also has to come to terms with his own existence, he is also targeted for what he is, so that people can steal that from him.
Not to mention, like, I haven't played Mankind Divided, but based on just basic plot, I would imagine that Jensen would be, like, target number one, considering that anybody can
He has all the best stuff.
Yeah, anybody can get Augs if they pay enough, but he had, like, absolute top of the line. Like, he's, like, 1 or 2 steps below the CEO of, like, the Aug company. Like, he's got the best.
He's got orange color legendary Aug. You have to kill him to get his loot.
I mean, pretty much, though. Like, his boss, like, he works for Seraph Industries, and his boss is Seraph. Like, it's like, oh.
He can get whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving on from that, I also played a little bit more PT.
Oh, did you actually beat it for real this time?
So I was insistent upon beating it. I was on the final loop.
Pain in the ass.
I was on the final loop, and I found there was this really great analysis video by this duo that did a podcast called The Great Debate.
Okay.
And they did all kinds of symbolism in PT, which is awesome. It's definitely my jam. It's just like, man, I want to talk to these guys. This is awesome. And one of them, the guy who's in that one in particular, there's a guy and a girl that were talking. He kind of found out a phrase that works every single time. Consistently, and nobody else has been able to do it. He kind of did some like numerology and futzed around and tried to find a name that fit into the puzzle.
Klaatu Barada Nikto.
Well, you know that one of the letters in it is signed J. Period.
Okay.
So he did some futzing around with the numbers that are red, which is kind of like an anagram of Kojima's birthday.
Oh.
And he found a name that fits, but like if you try to assign numbers and stuff, it's way too complicated to explain. But he came up with the name Jareth, which is like an obscure biblical name.
Wait, Jareth?
Yes.
I think most people would imagine the Goblin King from Labyrinth.
Yeah. Well, same thing.
Yeah.
And maybe he had that in mind because he was a David Bowie fan, and
Diamond Dogs.
And The Man Who Sold the World plays in very iconically at the beginning of Phantom Pain. Which is a David Bowie song. But he
I prefer Phantom Blood.
And what ended up happening was I did the 10 steps thing. What I did was I walked into the hallway and just stood there. I didn't go to the clock.
Okay.
I just stood there, and then waited for the clock to chime.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the chimes ended, I walked 10 steps, and the baby laughed immediately. And we hadn't triggered any of the baby laughs.
Yeah, that was such a
when
pain in the ass.
And then
it was at the point where the game wasn't even scary anymore. We're just like, make this work, please.
It was like same thing when I was playing Half-Life 2 and with Ravenholm. It was like at first it was pretty scary, I would say.
Ominous.
Yeah.
Ominous, but then after a while, when you start just killing things, it's like, all right, let's just get through this.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll just explore now because I know I've seen like everything that could probably freak me out.
We don't go to Ravenholm.
Oh, by the way,
except every time you play the game.
Yes.
And it's grav gun on metal disc equals half zombie.
It's the best part of the game.
Oh, the metal disc
really.
is friggin' broken with a grav gun.
But you'll appreciate this, Lotus. The Great Debate is spelled Grate, as in like the greats of the other world.
It's not that great.
But anyway, I said Jareth into the mic, and I triggered the second.
That's nuts.
Laugh, and it happened like right after I did it. And
so it's not coincidence.
No. It's been verified that this is a. It might not be Jareth specifically that does it. Like he's leaving it up to like, hey, I know this works. It might not be the solution. It might be something close, but
like
it
Jared
works
or
every
something.
single. It works every single time. He actually tested other names that sound like Jareth.
Okay.
And only a few work.
Wow.
Jared.
Jared, Jeffrey.
Not even. He did other J names, and like none of them worked.
Huh.
He only like something like 4 names worked, and Jareth was the most consistent.
Okay.
But so I also then from that point did not move the controller at all, and it started vibrating, and then the phone rang.
There you go.
And then told me that I was chosen, and then
and then you saw a crawling hand and Norman Reedus.
Yep.
That hand, man. Let me play that game. I think it was terrifying.
Oh yes. And also when it restarted me in the next loop, and Norman Reedus is waking up, you basically start PT over from the beginning.
Yeah.
I noticed something that I never noticed before. Lisa is peeking through the door when it opens up at the very beginning.
Wait,
That's
really?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad. Well, is that the case?
It's very hard to see, but you're like, ugh. Once you look at it, you're like, ugh.
That's kind of cool.
It's like very, very small crack of the door.
Huh.
I just came up with the best way to describe that game. Shuffling off this Mobius coil.
Nice.
It's literally one of the scariest things I've ever played, and it's not even a game.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
not even a real
playable
game.
teaser.
How often is that? And I know very little about it, and I would love to experience that game fresh. So
I have it, so if you want to come over, I can show you.
Yeah, Lotus and I have it. You can come over and play it anytime. We'll run you through it.
Well,
I'd rather just watch it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or better yet, we won't run you through it.
No, exactly. It's one of those, and
we'll give you the controller and have you play it.
No, exactly. I kind of wanted to somehow link this back to what you said about seeing Blazing Saddles in theaters, and that it's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
Certain movies, when seen with a group of people, it's this community setting forms, and it becomes an experience. And I was actually talking with Lotus about this earlier, and that he had never seen the movie Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
I still haven't. Yeah.
And my friends and I had saw that opening night, where people are waiting outside around the corner to see.
Oh yeah,
that movie.
it was like a frat. It was like a high school,
The hype was
like a
ridiculous.
college party.
Yeah.
Party atmosphere.
Well, we were in college at the time, but yeah, but that's exactly the point. Like, if you see the movie now, it's just like, this is good old, standard B stuff. But if you go see it in the theater with guys that have been waiting to see it, and like
it was like going to see The Room, or
Exactly.
like Rocky Horror Picture Show with people. It's like this is like an event.
This is the crowd you want to see it with.
How often does it, when a snake bites a guy on the dick, that the whole audience goes, yes, yes, and starts clapping and applauding?
Well, yeah, and again, just like The Room, like every line in that movie is like bad and or done poorly, and the audience loves it.
You
Absolutely.
can't recreate that experience. It's
Well, let's move on to my next game. I've been playing some more shooters in my spare time while still studying for my licensing exam, and I played a lot of the DoDonPachi that is exclusive to smartphones. It's called Maximum. It wasn't like a port of any other DoDonPachi game. It's just like its own thing. And it's been kicking my ass, and I love it.
Yeah,
it's
they're
great.
hard games. I played one of those games. First of all, I was playing on a meme, and then I was playing it at MagFest, I think, and those games are hard.
You were probably playing Diojo.
Well, I mean, on meme, I was playing DoDonPachi. I knew that, but
okay.
MagFest, I wasn't. I don't know if they had it or not, actually. But yeah, a lot of cave games are just really difficult, and are almost impossible to beat.
And
with one credit.
Yeah, very, very much so. And then I've also been playing MushihimesamaFutari, which is the second one.
That game's freaking ridiculous.
And I love this game. It has this mechanic in it that I didn't know existed. For anybody who's looking to get into modern shmups, always look up a scoring guide before you play them, because none of the mechanics are immediately apparent. The game doesn't tell you. You have to figure it out on your own or look up a guide, and you'll never figure it out on your own because you're trying not to die.
That's a great topic for a separate discussion, just critical game mechanics the game does not explain to you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that'll go along with our previous like fan question. We what games are better with a guide? Absolutely modern day shmups. Absolutely, because you would not know how to play them correctly. I was playing that one on my iPad, and it's really cool because you have to switch between forms of shooting depending on where your combo gauge is at, and so you're constantly switching up what you're shooting bad guys with, and you have to keep an eye on things. So, and you kind of get in the rhythm of it, and it's a lot more fun than the original Mushihime-sama. So, I was really enjoying that, and I also got a chance to play Cladrius Blaze, which I'm going to recommend to anybody who has a PS4 and loves shmups.
I haven't heard of that one. What's that one like?
That one is made by Moss, who makes the current Raiden games ever since Raiden 3.
Okay.
They make Raiden 3 and 4 and 5, and they made this game, and it's kind of medieval themed. It's kind of has some like Castlevania-y music going on with it too, but it also has its lolly cheesecake stuff to it. But which I'm not particularly thrilled about, but it's still a good game as it is. So this one is a lot of fun because you have actually 4 different ways to shoot. if things weren't complicated enough. Yeah, each character has different abilities, but you have a regular shot, and then you have 3 special shots. You have one that typically does more damage. You have another one that does like homing damage typically, but they're all a little different, but that's the typical usage. And then there's a third one that is defensive. It'll absorb bullets.
Each more different than the last.
Yes.
And like the goal is to collect as many of the drops from bad guys as you can, but also power up when there are a lot of bad guys on screen so you can double what you're getting.
Okay.
And you power up by having more than 50% in all of your shot types for the special shots. They recharge over time. So that it's a lot of fun. The first level is actually very forgiving. So if you're not used to like bullet hell games, this game's a little bit easier to get into. It gets hard as balls later, but it's a little more forgiving. And there's a lot of different modes and easy modes and stuff. So it's a cool one. That's what I played. Let's move on to Lotus. What are you playing right now?
Well, actually, I can say last week I had actually, just because I wanted to finally really play it myself, I had played from the beginning to end of Jazzpunk. which is freaking hysterical.
Oh, so good.
Now, the thing was, I just wanted to beat the game to see what happens. I didn't do the side stuff. And with Jazzpunk, you really should...
The side stuff is the game.
The side stuff is the main game. I just wanted to see what the levels were and how it ends and everything. So if you only care about just blasting through the game, you could probably do it in about an hour, which is what I did. I did about an hour and a quarter. But the game is way bigger than that. Don't let that fool you. Basically, Jazzpunk is absolutely hilarious all the time. It's really hard to describe as a game. Like, you have set missions that you're supposed to do, but everything that happens is stupid, like, all the time. Like,
you're basically playing with a toy.
Kind of. Like, I had put a part on...
A stupid toy.
I had put a tiny clip on YouTube last week, which just showcased what kind of really got me into the game, which is you're in this hallway, and you see one of those fire alarm switches, and you pull it, and, like, you hear the alarm and the water...
Your hands.
Yeah, no. You pull the switch, and you hear the alarm, and, you know, the water's coming from the ceiling. But next to the fire alarm switch, there's an ice alarm switch. So when you pull that, a different bell goes off, and just fire comes from the ceiling, and you... And when you're standing in the middle of it, you, like, take damage, and it shows, like, the GoldenEye health bar, and you do that, like... like that sound you make when you get hit in GoldenEye.
And it slows the frames per second.
Yeah, it looks like your game's lagging a bit.
Exactly the N64.
And what's extra funny is
great.
What's extra funny is that Jazzpunk is not a game where it's possible to take damage. It's more of a puzzle than anything else. So this is just showing you that.
So just like how early on in the game is that part?
Very.
The first level.
It's
okay.
very, very early.
So
and
you
it
get
was,
damaged, and then you're like, that's the only time you'll ever get damaged.
Yeah, it's not even damage. It's more like a visual effect.
Gotcha.
And speaking of visual effects like that, there's one part where you press a button and the blue screen of death comes up, but it doesn't.
What, Eternal Darkness?
Yeah, but it's even dumber than Eternal Darkness because, like, you have the blue screen of death, but then you realize, obviously the game hasn't crashed, so, like, if you back up, you just see that there's just a big blue rectangle with the blue screen of death stuff written on it, like, that happens
and
to
it was filling up your field of view.
Yeah, based on where you
perfectly.
were standing, it just happens to fill your screen. So if you step away from it,
So
it's like,
good.
oh, it's just sitting there. Like there's a whole lot of weird, nerdy programmer jokes and things like that. Like there's a box of Captain.
That's like Simpsons levels of misdirection.
Yeah, and like there's a box of like a not Captain Crunch cereal that if you look on the side of the box, it has a cereal port. And it's like, So there's a lot of stuff like that going around, so Jazzpunk is freaking hilarious. As to what I've been playing more recently, I had mentioned on Twitter I was trying to play Chris's campaign through in Resident Evil, and I think it's, for people who know Resident Evil, I think it's relatively common knowledge that Jill is easy mode and Chris is hard mode, but, like, damn, like, Chris is way harder. Like, the thing with Jill is that the first zombie, you could just have Barry kill for you. Very, very early in the game.
It also takes more bullets than any other zombie in the game.
Yeah, and very, very early in the game, you can get the bazooka, known in the remake as the grenade launcher, very early in the game. And you basically can save that for, like, hunters and things like that. You can, like, one-shot the hunters with the acid and the explosive rounds.
That's a long time later from the first zombie.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have that. You don't have that much ammo for it, yeah. So there's stuff like that. So what does Chris get instead of the grenade launcher? Nothing.
Yep.
So grenade ammo is replaced with shotgun shells, or in very rare cases, Magnum ammo. Both Chris and Jill get the Magnum or the Colt Python. Chris does have a flamethrower, but it's very region specific. Like, it could only be used in this one particular dungeon because you have to hang it on hooks to open a door, so you really only use it for like 1 or 2 rooms, so it doesn't really count. Also, Chris
I'm sorry, but when you said region specific, I thought like it only works in the PAL version.
Yeah, no. fair guess, but no. Also, Chris, on top of that, has 2 fewer inventory slots. So if you have like a pistol and ammo and a shotgun and ammo, that only leaves 2 free slots. And he has a couple more enemies than Jill does, which is very noticeable in tight corridors. So it sucks. Basically the one and only... Oh, and he does not have the lockpick. So he has to...
He is not the master of unlocking.
Yeah, so for unlocking desks that have spare ammo, he needs to find small keys, which are a separate inventory slot. And for the mandatory doors that Jill uses a lockpick on, you have to find the sword key, meaning there's a freaking 4th mansion key for Chris. The one and only advantage Chris has over Jill is that he has more health. That's it. And by the way, in the remake, Jill's perma item is the lockpick and Chris's is the lighter. Yeah, no. Even in the original Resident Evil, both of you have to find the lighter. It's ludicrous. Although the lighter's not necessary to beat the game, but it's ridiculous. Chris's mission is just way more frustrating. So
It's ludicrous.
I was going to say, because I had only played Remake and not the original, and to specify, you've been playing the original for
the original.
Not the remake.
I will say the lighter is, again, not necessary, but extremely useful in the remake, because you can burn zombies' bodies and prevent Crimson Heads. But, and so well, there might even be some necessary lighter puzzles, I forgot. But in the original Resident Evil, you use a lighter exactly twice in the entire game. One of them is to light a candle, which lets you look into a dark alcove for some ammo, so you don't need that. And the other thing is you can burn yourself like an imprint of a map of the 2nd floor of the mansion, which is also unnecessary if you know the game. So it's like, the lighter is just a thing that exists.
Plus, you missed the Master of Unlocking jokes. So
yeah, you do.
There's no.
Oh, actually, no. Speaking of which, you also miss. I was gonna say you also miss the Jill sandwich joke, but on top of that, the Jill sandwich joke thing exists at all, right? Like, if Jill picks up the shotgun and she tries to leave, the ceiling will crush down, but Barry will autosave her. If you play the game normally. There are cases where he doesn't, but normally he'll just straight up save you. With Chris, you absolutely must get the broken shotgun and replace the regular shotgun with it. So, like, that's also slightly harder. It's really frustrating.
I will say what is overlooked, though, it is in Chris's file when you get to the end, and I've only seen the clip of it because I had not played the original, but he just starts laughing when he's facing Wesker.
Yes.
Wesker's just like,
yeah.
Chris, stop it.
Yeah, and that's how he says it. It was so funny. I saw that like a night or two ago. It was the best. Because, I mean, the thing is, they're taking wonky line reads from the voice actors, so it's supposed to be like, you know, like Cell against Vegeta. Like, stop laughing! But, like, stop it. Like Wesker sounded really, like, stop! Yeah, Wesker sounded really, like, hurt by Chris not being impressed by the Tyrant. It's hilarious.
I think that utterly surpasses any of the Jill sandwich lines. Like, that's...
Well, no, there is one... Really there is an actual line that surpasses the Jill sandwich thing. It's if you have Rebecca alive by the end. You know how Tyrant impales Wesker? Like, that just always happens? So, when you come back out... Rebecca's like, whoa, Chris, what happened to Wesker? And Chris goes like, he's sleeping with the ultimate failure. It's like, what? It's fantastic. It's like, I see what he's doing, but like, what? Like, get out of here.
Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. Yeah, I saw that clip for the first time like a night or two ago. Like, stop, like, that's enough, Chris. Stop it! Like, it's really funny.
it's like that
I'll show
that
you
comic
where
the devil like welcomes that guy to hell, and he's just like, and we have pizza here for you, and he starts eating it, and his face is melting off, and he's like, ha ha ha, it's so good for you to eat, but it's burning your face off, and then he like keeps eating the pizza. He's like, dude, stop.
That's pretty good. Actually, I saw a really funny. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say really quick, I saw a really funny Cyanide and Happiness comic where some guy went to hell because it's like, why am I in hell? I thought I was good. And the devil's like, well, you cheated in your 5th grade science exam. But don't worry, like, you only go to the 1st level of hell because it's a minor infraction. And he's like, oh, okay. And then the guy's like, oh my god, it's like super boiling. It's like worse than boiling. What is this? And the devil's like, well, hot air rises. You would have known that if you didn't cheat in your science exam. It's just like, oh. It was great.
Oh, Lord.
God damn it.
The
devil.
Yeah.
All I was going to say was that Wesker's delivery reminded me of, like, some 11-year-old trying to do, like, a Dungeons & Dragons game, and his little sister keeps bursting in to annoy him and his friends. It's just like... Stop it.
Yeah. That's how it sounded. It was amazing.
I'm trying to be the dungeon master.
I'm the gatekeeper.
Like
You're the key master.
That's the impression that I got. Yeah.
It's a good song.
Yeah, it's very entertaining. But anyway, that's what I've been playing recently. Is just a lot of classic Resident Evil again.
You don't say.
Yeah. I let's played it, but that wasn't enough.
Nice. How about yourselves?
I already answered that question.
Go ahead, Luminaire. What'd you have?
Oh, well, if we're only going by the week,
well, I saw you playing, Black Ops 3 Zombies lately.
Well, when you were there, that's actually when I tend to play it because.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that is true. You hadn't played it since the last time because it's kind of like for the benefit of just seeing where the level goes.
It's one of those modes where, so I've been playing Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies, and if anyone hasn't played it, there's a new map. I had the season pass, and so every few months a new map comes out, and the most fun part about it is that every single map is sort of there's an overall story and progress. And it's more fun to do it when Lotus is around, just because, I don't know, he's a
great audience member.
Oh
yeah, he is. He has great banter.
He's more into it than I am.
I do. I do like watching people play video games. Like I sat through one of our friends playing through like a lot of the PS2 Nipponichi games.
Most RPGs back in the college days, but still, the thing is, it's fun. When you were talking about games that are more fun without a guide, Zombies is one of them.
Oh, without a guide, yeah, because that's all about the discovery.
Exactly, and it takes some trial and error, and it takes some deaths, but we got to a point where eventually we heard a voice talking to us, and it was the voice of Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, that was odd.
Specifically for this one zombie DLC chapter, and they were like, "They got Malcolm McDowell for this?" And of course, I died 2 minutes after I heard him. Like,
what a droog you are!
Yeah,
I'm like, wait, how much more?
Yeah, this was pretty far onto the level.
I'm going to the I'm like, how much more do? But
he was also Daedalus in God of War 3.
Yeah, but it's all this trial by error, and it's going to different areas, and it's, I don't know, when puzzle solving on the fly is sort of more fun with another person, basically like in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Escape this room. Escape this zombie scenario with a friend.
That is true. Like the zombie scenarios, it's not what you. If you don't know the Call of Duty zombie stuff, it's not what you might think. You're not just standing there and shooting zombies as they come in waves. They come in waves.
That's single player, right?
Yeah, it's single player. Zombies.
No, single player is a campaign totally different from zombies.
No, Zombies has a single player element, though. It's not a multiplayer game.
But
right?
You can do Zombies either single or co-op with other people. But
I didn't know that.
The story does not change.
Yeah, but what I was saying, though, is that, if you don't know Call of Duty Zombies, yes, there are just tons of waves of zombies, and yes, you shoot them, but you're trying to get somewhere. But the thing is, on top of killing zombies for experience to open doors, that much is obvious enough, but there are little things you can do with the level to try to actually beat it, and you have to kind of figure out what you need to grab, where to use it, and what happens when you do, and you never know what's going to happen, which is the best part. Just a dragon shows up, like a straight-up fire-breathing dragon, and that's part of the level, but there are things you could presumably do with it. You can pay to have this giant robot shoot its eye lasers as a trap. It's like, what? There's a whole lot of stuff going on.
Literally, the level we were doing was an alternate universe version of Stalingrad, where there are dragons flying around, and occasionally I go into an area, and a dragon just comes up and breathes fire into the room. Like, what the I didn't even know that was possible.
Not to mention,
completely random.
Not to mention that it seems that the villain of the level is an alternate version of one of the characters you play as, like the Russian character. It's like the villain is you, oh, okay.
Actually, we don't know if he's a villain or not.
Well, that's true. We still haven't met him, but he's the only living person who seems to be communicating with us, and he does not appear to be friendly. He's like, if you're not fighting for the glory of Mother Russia, I highly suggest you leave, or else it's going to get bad, because he's driving this giant mech suit.
But that's also why I love zombies so much. It's that they are such stereotypes, and that it's such a B-movie story.
Yeah, you have an all-American American, you have, like, the creepy scientist German, you have the, like, loyal to Mother Russia, up with communism, down with capitalism Russian guy, and you have, like, the for the Emperor, like, Japanese guy.
Yeah, what were some of the lines you liked from Nikolai? It was just like...
he's got some really... well, one of the things you could do, one of the basic mechanics, is there are outlines of guns drawn on walls, so if you have enough experience, you could just buy...
Like Evil Dead style?
Yeah, well, yeah, but, like, it's kind of like a shop. You could buy a gun. It's just that it costs. Okay. Like, you'd probably want to do it to replace your crappy gun, or if you're low on ammo. But, like, he'll just remark at the fact that he paid a wall for a gun, and, like, one of his lines is, like, it would be easier to deconstruct capitalism than it would be to explain this money-accepting wall. Like, it's great.
A wall's need for money, or
yeah.
The same thing is, like, you can rebuild barriers by putting planks back on woods that zombies have to break through. It's just like, we're using Russian wood, best wood of all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it reminds me of from JoJo. I've said this to Luminaire before, but it reminds me of Stroheim's super German nationalism in JoJo. Like, he has a line where he's got this crazy machine gun, and he's like, "I'll punch you full of more holes than Swiss cheese. Although German cheese is better," and it's like, okay, it's
like
great.
Even mentioning other cheese.
Yeah, like I know Swiss cheese is the image, but still, German's better. Like, okay, all right.
Yeah, but that's the mode I tend to play when he visits. Otherwise, I really just tend to stick to the multiplayer. If my PC were up and running as normally, I would be continuing to play a lot more Overwatch, which I have been thoroughly enjoying. Otherwise. I've actually been playing one of my birthday games that Vice gave to me years ago, which was Paper Mario, the sticker game for the 3DS.
Like
Sticker Star Saga.
Yeah, and
how do you like that game?
I'm nearly done with it. I'm on the last level now.
Nice.
It's one of those games where, like, I'm not a dumbass. But it's that the game doesn't really give you sufficient clues to really know where to go and what you need to progress through certain areas.
You definitely need a guide for that game because it's stupid otherwise.
I feel like a dumbass because for that sometimes, but ironically at the same time, while playing that, I got nostalgic for the whole Paper Mario series. So I also downloaded on the Virtual Console for the Wii U the N64 Paper Mario game.
Nice.
So good.
And I've been playing that as well.
I should get that at some point now that it's finally readily available, because it's not easy to find the actual cartridge anymore.
And you want to play it on the Wii U because the graphics are much cleaner. Any N64 game that you'd want to play, like any one that is available on Wii U, get that version and never play the original version ever again, because the resolution is way better, the draw distance is way better, the whole experience is way better. You may not have your controller, but I wouldn't say that about any other console, but as you guys know, I hate the N64.
As good as some of its games are, like, as a system, it's like,
That's exactly it.
I mean, like,
it's the hardware I hate, not the
that's
games.
The thing. Like,
I love so many of the
Ocarina
games.
of Time, everybody loves Ocarina of Time. Like, GoldenEye, everybody loves GoldenEye, except for Mr. Ryu 45. But, yeah, as a system, though, like, just look at a Nintendo 64 game next to a PlayStation game, it's like, alright.
Yeah, but and that shouldn't be. Like, the N64 should trounce it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, because of the medium.
As many people did say, the 4... local multiplayer thing was a big boon for the
that was huge
itself.
Yeah, just having 4 ports instead of needing like a what's the word for it, the multi-controller, multi-tap, thank you. I was thinking Team Player, like, for the Genesis,
rather than trying to get several extra things from a keg. It's not the multi-tap you're thinking of. Anyway.
I'd multi-tap that.
Anyway, and maybe it's only because I'd already played the game twice when it was on the N64, but it doesn't hold up as well as I had remembered. And if anything, it's making me longing more for Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
GameCube.
The GameCube is the best one.
I want them to go back to the Super Mario RPG style, but I know Square won't make another game like that.
Well, the closest thing you can
Mario
get is
Luigi
the
games.
The first three Mario and Luigi games are very much in the line.
Actually, I heard that the first Mario and Luigi game was actually called Super Mario RPG 2 at first.
Yeah, I think
I could see that.
it was supposed to be called Mario and it's Mario RPG something in Japan. So like it's very obvious that it's a sequel.
Mario RP Luigi.
Mario. I think it's just called Mario and Luigi RPG.
Okay.
That could work too. But other than that, I was happy to find out, which I did not know, that there was a Mario and Luigi Paper Jam with Paper Mario as...
Yeah, that's the latest one in both series.
And a new Paper Mario game is coming out for the Wii U in October.
Cool.
Color Splash or something.
Yeah.
And since I'll be looking forward to that. And I think that's pretty much more than enough on my front for the game. So I think it's time to move on over to Pyro.
Pyro.
Yeah, what do you play, Pyro?
So I've been continuing Obduction. I feel like I'm about halfway through the game, but with games like that, you can't really be sure. I'm at a point where I feel like I've seen everything, and there's like one or two clues that I'm just not seeing that'll probably get me to open it up again a bit more, so I might take a break from that to let my brain relax. Other than that, I've been playing
That's
a lot
one of those games where like you'll be like eating lunch at work, and you'll be like, "Oh man, I know what it is!
Yeah.
I can't wait to go try it."
Extra
be
mayonnaise.
like, oh, there it is, I got it, and then you'll go home and you'll try and be like, shit, that wasn't it.
Yeah,
Back to the
Oh,
drawing board.
that's even worse. You think you have an epiphany away from the game. It's like
when I'm
close.
coding, it's the same thing. But another game I've been playing a lot this weekend is Rhythm Heaven Megamix.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
I
good
almost
stuff.
beat it. It's really annoying though, because like I love the Rhythm Heaven games, but I feel like they get boring kind of quickly.
Does that one have the Luchador game in it?
Yes, it
has
does.
to.
But it's
Okay.
and like so. First of all, there's 3 endings to this game.
What?
Not like 3 different endings, good, bad, whatever. It's the game ends, and it's like, oh wait, no, the game's not over. And then you're like, okay, cool. So you play a little bit more. It's like, oh, that's the end. That's the credits again. It's like, oh wait, no, there's more. And it's like, what? Like, stop. I get it.
I'm in an
Just
endless
open up-
Rhythm
It's
Heaven
Lord of the
loop.
Rings.
Because the other problem that I think with this game is it actually adds a story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whereas the other games, you just kept beating mini games and more have been opening up. So it's like, okay, that's not bad. But there's story, and I'm like, I don't care about what's going on. I just want to open up all the mini games.
You don't want to experience the lore of Rhythm Heaven Universe.
But overall, it's pretty fun, and they have a lot of most of the games from the previous ones that I've played that I've liked. So that's good. On the
Nice.
other hand, they've had some that from the other games that I didn't like, and I didn't want to have to play them. One annoying thing I felt was near the end. You know the remix stages? So like there's 4 stages,
yeah.
and they end in a remix that kind of remixes those mini games into a bigger song. So in this game,
Those were
they
cool.
have remixes, but the final remixes, the 3 remixes at the end, are random mini games from throughout the game. So you play 4 games to get up to there, but the games in the remix are not those 4. So you're like, I don't remember how to do this.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I get it.
That was a pain in the ass.
I
but
remember the Wii game kind of had that, because the Wii game's final song was a little bit of every single thing in the game, including the tutorial screen that you see for like a second and then never again. It's like, what?
Hey,
yeah,
you
that's
go, big
that's
guy.
not cool. But anyway, so I've been playing that. I'm almost done with that. One game that I played at the Labor Day party that I went to this weekend that was really fun is I played the Jackbox, one of the Jackbox collections. And if you don't know what they are, they're party games.
Oh yeah.
An example that I have that we played is called Quiplash. So what happens is
Oh,
you play with
yeah.
up to 8 people, and before the game starts, every person answers 2 questions with as silly or serious of an answer as they want, and everyone gets a mix of the 2 different questions. So only 2 people get each question. And what happens is throughout the game, the question pops up, and the 2 answers that people wrote pop up, and you have to vote for which one you think is better. So it's kind of like a little bit of Cards Against Humanity in a way, where you want to kind of do an answer that the crowd will like, not that you think is funny.
Man, when's the last time we played that?
It's been a while.
Yeah. So that's that game. Another game that we played that was cool, that was interesting, was I forget what the game was called, but basically there's a question that shows up, and you each have to give an answer that's a lie, but you want it to be close enough to the real answer, so people will pick that.
Oh, yeah,
boy.
yeah. What was that? Was that Drawful?
I don't remember, but that was interesting. Once I got a hang of it, that was an interesting game. Because then what happens is after everyone enters their lie, everyone is seeing all the lies and the truth. And you had to try to pick the truth. And you get points for picking the true answer, or if people pick your wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of like that game, Dixit?
Dixit, yeah. It's very much like Dixit,
kind
yeah.
of, yeah.
Like,
So
if everybody gets
interesting.
it, you get no points, but as long as one person gets it, you get
Yeah,
the most
ideally,
amount of points.
exactly one person gets it right, because
Mm-hmm.
the not that you, the drawer, care, but like it just means that more people will not get points. Just the one person will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's that I've been hearing about Jackbox on, like, I listened to the Giant Bombcast, and they've mentioned that several times.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah, and I've been meaning to try it, but so this was actually really fun. I'm glad I was able to play
Yeah,
it.
it's
We're
a
like
lot
the
of-
perfect group of people to play that.
Yeah, and it's
too.
a lot
We
of
should
fun.
definitely be on
You can
that.
play it on smartphone as well as PC. You just set up a chat.
Yeah,
or
that's what we were
a
doing.
Sort of
Someone
chat
had
room
it
and
on the
you just do it.
PC, and we all logged into the room on our phones. So we were playing with our cell phones.
Yeah, and
So
what's
that was actually
also
really
what's
cool.
also cool is we've talked about this before with the DS, but it's one of those games where you don't all need to own the game. Like one person can host it, and then everyone else can just show up.
What's that called? Download play?
Something like that.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
the DS, yeah, that was download play. But in this one, you don't even need to download anything. You just go to the website and then enter the room code. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I wanted to mention real quick, since we're on to you, Pyro. I was wondering if you had downloaded the Final Fantasy 15 smartphone game, Justice Monsters 5.
I haven't, and it's partially because I don't know if I care enough about Final Fantasy 15. Like, as the games have gone by, Final Fantasy, I've kind of cared less and less, and it's kind of like, I know I'm going to play it eventually. I still haven't beaten Lightning Returns, so Luminaire, I'll get you your strategy guide back eventually.
I was going to say, I lent that to you like 2 years ago, but, which is fine. Which is fine, by the way. It is worth playing in terms of the battle system.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
you
I start
still owe
playing
me a
it.
bite of chalupa.
No, we have.
No,
gotten that
you gave
out
me
of
a
the way.
bite of gordita. That is not the same.
And yet you
They're,
said
the main
we're-
difference between a gordita and a chalupa is the flatbread.
And yet you did not complain.
anyway.
when I gave you the goddamn- Oh no, we're gonna settle that.
Soup is not a meal.
So I haven't gotten a chance to beat Lightning Returns, and I know that I will probably eventually play 15, but it just isn't really pulling me into it enough that I'm gonna download a phone game about it.
I just thought you would play it because it's an in-game game. Like, it's what people are playing on their phone in the game.
Okay.
So what it is it's actually kind of like a pinball game. So you have like 3 different characters. It could be like a bomb from Final Fantasy, you know, like one of those like flaming characters. You can also have a flan, like, which is like a
Pudding.
water elemental pudding. I'm
They're
sorry.
not all water elemental, but you can.
That's why-
in this
nothing.
game it is. And you bounce the ball around by swiping and also activating the different monsters that you have for fighting other monsters at the top of the screen. So I thought that you might like that, because
I'll check it out.
It's kind of neat.
And the other thing I haven't gotten a chance to play, and I don't know if I will, but for anyone who's listening to this, I kind of recommend buying it. So Humble Bundle, this week's Humble Bundle game bundle is a Sierra collection.
Oh yeah, I got that.
And if you don't know how Humble Bundle works,
Get all of them.
Yeah.
Spring for the $20
you can
one.
pay what you want, but the more you pay, the more games you'll get. I don't remember the different levels, but if you pay any amount that you want, you'll at least get, I think, the Police Quest collection and
King's
Space
Quest.
and King's Quest maybe. And then if you pay the average,
Quest of Glory.
yeah, and then if you pay the
Glory.
average, you get more games. And if you pay $15, you get more games. And also, if you pay
Phantasmagoria.
yeah,
Oh,
if
that's
you pay,
right.
If you pay $20, you'll also get the King's Quest, the newer King's Quest games that were, I don't know who made it, but
yeah, it was Activision's relaunch of the Sierra brand.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's very good.
I've been meaning to play those games. I know that I'm probably gonna need a guide for the Quest games.
Did Sierra make Myst?
No, that was Broderbund. Was the ones who published that, but it was by Cyan.
Somebody get the joke.
Oh, Sierra Mist.
Okay.
Go on.
It went over my head.
Yeah.
I like sprite-based jokes better.
Oh, so you must love
Make
the 16-bit games.
Up yours.
But yeah, I know I'm
the
gonna
same,
need
but
guides for the Quest games, but I've been meaning to try them, so I figured this was a great deal that I shouldn't pass up.
Well, the new
I really
one...
wanted to play the Quest for Glory games, and I know I really want to play those games with Tim Curry in it. What are they called?
Oh, I know what you mean. Gabriel Knight.
Gabriel Knight.
Oh yeah,
those are
I got
included
those
in there.
too.
But regarding needing a guide, the new one I would imagine would be more intuitive, and I know for a fact that King's Quest 6 is fair. 7, I'm kind of forgetting, but it's not as ludicrous as King's Quest 5, which had a bunch of like unwinnable state scenarios. And
What was the one with the bridge?
That was the stupidest. That was 2.
Winks.
Okay.
Yeah, but 1 through 5. Just use a damn guide. It's not even to solve the puzzles, it's to prevent yourself from accidentally screwing yourself over. Because, like, in 2, you'll get to the very end of the game and you realize you can't beat it. Because you, God forbid, searched for something in a freaking point-and-click adventure game.
Jeez.
So that's,
Quest 2 screws you so hard. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff about them, and I just want to try them out myself sometime. But that's basically what I've been playing.
Sure.
Or bought.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now at
I bought Lotus a game.
Yeah, I'm super hyped.
Weekend.
Yeah, you called me up actually when I was over at Luminaire's place. Luminaire was getting some dinner anyway, but you had called me letting me know that your local game store got a bunch of big box PC games in, and there was a lot of good ones. And so I told you to, because you asked if I wanted you to pick anything up for me. So yeah, I gave a shout out to King's Quest 5 because that's, I think, the first King's Quest game I ever played, and it's like
cool.
as broken as some of its parts are, like that really delivers like a very fulfilling King's Quest kind of experience. It's also the first, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's definitely the first point-and-click King's Quest game, but it's possibly the first point-and-click adventure game. Am I right on that?
I would think Mania. No, that would be the Black Cauldron.
Oh, would it? Okay, because I know the original.
Because
I
think LucasArts invented the parser for.
Okay, because I know at least the original King's Quest is the first adventure game where you could like control your character with the arrow keys. Because before that, I think it was just text.
No, I think pointing and clicking existed in the Black Cauldron, and then it went to Maniac Mansion, which also had pointing and clicking.
But at least King's Quest was the first adventure game, like King's Quest 1.
All I was going to say is that obscure is not an adjective that would deter you from playing a game.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And in fact, I mean, this makes me sound like such a hipster, but sometimes I like obscure games just because it's cool to see. Like, it's cool to see them, and I do a Let's Play channel, or I have a Let's Play channel, so it's also cool to show other people games they might not have otherwise heard of, like freaking like White
we
Day.
Heard about weird. We heard about Weird Dreams way before anybody else was talking about it.
I mean,
I think you showed it to me because I had not heard about it.
I could watch Let's Play Madden 2013, but this guy's doing Let's Play I Have No Face and I Must Scream?
Mouth. But no, seriously though, like, I mean, I mentioned this on a podcast, on one of the earlier podcasts, but like, it's very, like, whenever you ask Vice, whenever you ask, oh, what's everybody playing today? Like, have you played this? Have you played that? Like, you don't do that so much, but some of my viewers do. Like, have you played this new awesome game? And I'm like, no, I haven't, because I've been playing some like Clock Tower on the PS1. It's like,
yeah.
all right.
I haven't gotten past Resident Evil video phone edition.
Yeah, it's like, when are you gonna play Resident Evil 6? I'm playing
pod.
1 on the PC. Like, who even knew that there was a PC port? Like, come on.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned that like last podcast where all these games that people that are kind of more well known. It's like we have all these games we want to play.
Yeah, I can only play one at a time, man.
Or like old games that we want to try or whatever that we're not probably going to be playing most of the modern or the more popular games at the time.
Yeah, part of it is like I would love to play new games that come out like Doom 2016 or whatever. But another part of it is I played Dino Crisis 1 and I have not played Dino Crisis 2. So it's like,
Also, we're not in high school anymore.
Yeah, we have lives.
or even college, where we do have more work, but we also don't live with our parents. So it's like 100% of our non-homework time is free time.
I had the most free time in college. Actually.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
I have to say, I agree.
By a long
like
shot.
if you get your assignments done, it's like you're just binging stuff until 4 a.m. and then complaining that you have to get up at like 11 because you don't plan very well.
I was involved in
Lotus...
so many extracurricular activities in high school. Like I was packed to the brim until like 9 o'clock every night.
Mm-hmm.
Or just bitching that our roommate of Lotus did not bring the correct pizza that he wanted.
Yeah, that was true. We had a roommate who worked at a pizza place, and he would bring back the leftovers, which was freaking awesome. But like the leftovers were whatever the hell was left over. So it's like if it wasn't something you liked, then too bad.
This is not the correct free pizza that I wanted.
Yeah, and everybody
bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back. And everybody loves plain, so there was very low chance of him bringing plain back. It's like, oh man.
Nice.
It was a good time though. Just free pizza, sure, I'll have it. Free pizza at college? Are you kidding me? Like, yes. But anyway,
Nice.
At this point, we've hit the hour mark, so we should probably get to some viewer questions.
Absolutely.
And by viewer, I mean listener. So I don't think we actually got any new question. Maybe one. I didn't put a timestamp on these, but we still have leftover questions from 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, keep them coming, guys.
Yeah,
please.
Now the first question I think is just hilarious, not because of the question itself, but it's like you're opening the floodgates with this one.
Yeah, this is our jam.
Yeah, like just you wait, especially for us. The Fool Arcana, again surrounded by zeros, so like 0, the Fool Arcana 0. Get ready. What do you think are some really good obscure horror games? Oh boy! Let's see. We have Obscure for starters.
Yeah, I was gonna say Obscure and Obscure Aftermath.
We got White Day, a labyrinth named School. I don't know if it's good. I haven't played it, but there's Juggernaut for the PS1. There's Martian.
Nameless Game for the DS.
Oh my, that's obscure because it never came out. There's Martian Gothic for the PS1. I think also PC, but I think Europe had it on PC.
Rule of Rose is pretty obscure.
Rule of Rose, if anything, it's getting famous because it's so limited, because it was outright banned in Europe. But what's interesting is that it came out, and then it was banned. So as hard as it is to get a copy of Rule of Rose in the States, good freaking luck in Europe. Like, the Italian Prime Minister himself decried the game. You know, like...
Whoa, really?
Yeah, like America had congressmen pissing and moaning about Night Trap.
This is like basically one of the leaders of the mafia in Italy, mind you.
Mr. Prime Minister.
But like here's the thing: like America had congressmen complaining about Night Trap, but we didn't have the president. You know, like the Italian Prime Minister is like, no, Rule of Rose is terrible. It's like, whoa. So other obscure. There's Fear Effect 1 and 2.
Those are obscure. Those were greatest hits titles.
But who talks about them now, though?
Nobody. Yeah.
Dino Crisis 1 and 2 for the same reason. Like, if you knew about them back then...
Dino Crisis 3 is really obscure, actually.
Yeah, but the question asked, what are some good obscure horror games? I actually haven't played Dino Crisis 3, but I heard it's just like a comedy of errors.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a really great obscure horror game that's based off of the Deus Ex engine.
Yeah, that's one of those games that had like a cult following, so when GOG brought it back, people were like, oh, wow.
Yeah, but still a lot of people don't... not enough people talk about that.
Yeah. And there's... it's debatable as to whether this is horror, but I have no mouth and I must scream, the point and click.
No face?
Yeah, no face. I have no face, and I must get one so I can scream and have no mouth. What else do we have?
I have no crotch and I must pee.
That's a problem.
That's a horror game.
No, I'm trying to think of stuff on PC, because who knows PC horror games?
The only thing I could think of that I knew were downloaded that I have not played yet, but I know is not uncommon, is Slender Man.
Yeah,
actually, another one.
Slender the Arrival.
Well, that's the sequel.
The game that we played, that's kind of. I mean, it gained kind of popularity because of Mimi, but what was that? Spooky's House of Horror. That's kind
Yeah.
of
Spooky's House of Jump Scares.
Freddy's Night, or
there's Five Nights at Freddy's, but that was immensely.
I don't really
That's
consider
not
that-
obscure.
Yeah, that's
by any
immensely
means.
popular.
Not obscure. I
But
was just
Spooky's
trying to remember
was
what it's
actually
called.
pretty spooky.
Spooky's House of Jump Scare starts off stupid on purpose, and then you kind
Yeah.
of realize that it's a spooky game. Like all of a sudden, like we like used codes to get to much later levels, and it got like actually scary, like panic mode scary.
Oh, Lotus. Do you remember this game that PBG talked about for on the PC, where if he only moves when you don't look at him? And,
that was a mod for Half-Life 2. That was oh, for God's like SCP Containment Breach.
That was a mod? Not even
That was like a Half-Life 1 or 2 mod. That's not a proper like official release.
I got a good obscure one. There are, I think it's a trilogy of the Blair Witch trial, or the Blair Witch Project video games that are really obscure, and they're survival horror games, and they're supposed to be good.
Wow, okay. Haven't heard of those. You know what? I remember actually, and this was before I got this question. This is actually how I discovered White Day in the first place. Well, I mentioned White Day, but this is how I discovered White Day in the first place. I had found some top number list of obscure horror games, like horror games that are like underappreciated that you wish you'd played but never heard of. One of them, I don't know if I call it horror, but I actually have a physical copy now because Jast finally released it. But Saya no Uda, and that game is really interesting to me in that, like, it's weird because it's a sort of visual novel style kind of. It's not a hentai game, but it's a game with hentai in it. But like, the game sounds like from the premise really interesting. All I know is the basic premise, and that's
I read about that game.
Yeah, you got into like a horrible car accident, and you have some kind of damage with your brain in that you can move around and you're lucid and everything, but your perception has been altered, and everything around you, from people to buildings, are like these fleshy, like horror monstrosities. But all of a sudden, this girl Saya comes in, and she's the one normal-looking person there. So, you guessed it, in real life, everything's normal and she's the fleshy horror, but I don't know what her motivation is, and I don't know where the game goes at all, but I kind of want to find out. And what's interesting is that what was released on the PS4 earlier this year is a game called Nitro Plus Blaster Z, which is a fighting game starring all sorts of characters from Nitro Plus games, like the company. And Saya's a playable character. I was just like, it's kind of like that sort of crappy game that Shingeki Bunko, like it's like Climax or whatever. It's like a fighting game with a bunch of different characters from various light novels, and the game's really not that good, but it has some characters from Valkyria Chronicles, and it has Kino from Kino's Journey, and it's like, what?
Oh, wow.
Well, Kino's support, to be fair. Kino's not a playable character, but it's still like, oh, damn.
Lotus, wasn't there a game we saw Mr. Ryu's place for the PS3 called like Siren or something?
Yeah, there's
That's not really that obscure.
it kind of is. It's getting there. Siren for the PS2. There's actually the real name is Forbidden Siren. America just called it Siren. It's kind of like how Fatal Frame is the American name, but really it's called like Zero. But Forbidden Siren 2 is Europe and I think Japan only. It was not released in the States. And then there's Siren Blood Curse, which is the PS3 release, which was released in chapters. But I hate that, so I actually imported the full game from somewhere in the UK. Yeah.
Now, it's not obscure at all, but as far as I know, has anybody else played The Evil Within?
No, but I want to. I have it for the PS4,
I want to as well.
I think.
That one's not a very obscure.
That game I heard some people weren't as much of a fan of it as they could have been because they thought it was style over substance, but like it's getting to the point where I'm starting to like games like that. It's like Suda51 games. They're not style over substance, but like they have some weird quirk about them that makes you want to play them because nothing else does what they do. And The Evil Within looks like that.
Think of a legitimately scarier version of Resident Evil 4. Very non-cohesive, granted, but
Killer is Dead was non-cohesive, but I like that.
Honestly, you would love it.
I probably would, yeah.
I just wanted to ask if I'm the only one that has played that game.
Yeah,
I think so.
At this point.
I would like to, but there's so much stuff that I gotta play, including just in the horror genre alone.
I mean,
I'm not really much of a horror guy, so.
I got another group of games. Probably a lot of the listeners know at least about the Amnesia games, 2 of them.
Yeah, the regular
Amnesia
one and Machine for Pigs.
Machine for Pigs, but there's also a predecessor.
The Penumbra trilogy.
The Penumbra trilogy, which is a lot more obscure.
I've actually let's played those.
Yeah, those are good ones.
The first one is first-person survival horror with very terrible combat, and that's actually kind of the way I like it, because if you could just murder everything like in Dead Space, oh boy does the scare factor go down. So the fact, like, it arguably makes the first game scarier that you have combat, but it sucks, because you have that moment of doubt. Like, I could fight them, but that means standing there in front of them with this horrible combat and I might die. So, like, it's actually scarier than there's no combat, so I have to run. So you do that. And that's what the second game did. The second game is still, I think it's my favorite in the trilogy, but it's just, you have to run, do it. And the third game turns into, like, a puzzle game. It made sense within the lore, but if you're looking for horror in the third game, you're not really going to find it, but it's still fun.
I got a couple deep cuts here.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows that, like, as far as horror games for, like, 8-bit and 16-bit systems, you got the Castlevania series. That's probably like the ultimate, like, that's probably the horror game you're gonna go to if you're gonna suggest a horror game. It's really an action game.
Would that be considered a horror game, though?
It's the closest thing other than maybe Shadowgate or The Uninvited.
I mean, I guess there's Clock Tower for the Super Famicom.
Well, there you go. How about The Uninvited? I forgot.
Uninvited
to say that.
Was creepy.
Yeah,
I was uninvited.
Yeah, no, you were actually. But there's also like a copy off of the Castlevania games. There was this game that Sega released for the Game Gear and Master System called Vampire Master of Darkness.
Oh man.
And that's a horror themed action game. That plays like Castlevania and is basically Castlevania, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good one.
There's Sweet Home for the Famicom.
Yeah, Sweet Home.
That's like arguably the first
game.
horror game. Like, I know Atari had Haunted House, but like the first like survival horror is possibly Sweet Home.
Yeah, that's a good one. You have Splatterhouse, which is
not
the
Sweet
Splatterhouse. Yeah,
Splatterhouse is
trilogy.
Freaking gross. Like that. Like,
yeah.
Like it's funny because it's a beat 'em up, so you're like, oh, it's not horror, but like, no, it is. The game's really messed up.
Oh, whatever Angry Joe reviewed Dead Halls for the Oculus Rift.
That looked pretty freaky. Yeah,
I'm really interested in that.
That's one of those things that's kind of like Silent Hill 1, where it's like arguably scarier because it's so basic. Like, just stuff happens to you and you're like, oh no.
No, I mean, just some scenes you just see is like, as he said, it's a random generated corridor maze.
Yeah, that freaking sucks.
Per level, and then suddenly it's just like you see something that looks like a bomb from Final Fantasy. You say it's just a face, and it's just like, what is that? And then it just gets closer to you with the eyes going bloodshot with the teeth. And it's just like,
actually, you know what that kind of reminds me of is going back to White Day, the first ghost you meet in the game. It's really creepy because the lore behind her is she's supposed to be sharpening her knife because she worked in the school cafeteria, but it doesn't sound like that. It sounds almost like paper ripping very slowly. So you hear that whenever she approaches, and it gets louder as she approaches. But what's creepy about it is that she doesn't walk toward you. She like teleports toward you, but she doesn't appear right in front of you. She like moves at walking speed, but like skips steps. She teleports. But what's really freaky is that you can only really see her in her peripheral vision. So if she's right in front of you, you can almost not see anything at all. So, but you get the best look at her when she's at the corner of the camera, which is way creepier.
That's racist. What about Hispanic Day or Black Day?
I think you know this, but for the record, White Day is the sequel to Valentine's Day in Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan.
I was there when it happened. Yes, I was.
Yeah, it's March 14th. You give girls white things, like I think marshmallows are the most popular, and like white chocolate and stuff like that.
I got a couple good ones. There's a bunch of decent horror games for the Dreamcast that like nobody's ever played.
Don't mention The Ring, because that game's a piece of crap.
That game's a piece of crap. But Blue
Well,
Stinger,
and I'm glad I heard
in particular,
Yeah, I
is,
gotta play that.
becoming a cult favorite lately, and also it's semi successor.
Spiritual, yeah, like Illbleed.
Yeah, Illbleed.
Illbleed
But
is
I don't know whether I can't decide whether I think that game's good or not.
That game's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but it's so hard to play.
Yeah.
I think you know very well that we can enjoy bad games.
Oh yeah.
And movies and still enjoy them. So
Absolutely, there is a charm to them, and Illbleed is oozing with charm. It's just difficult to physically play.
The bleed in Spanish.
No, actually, it's
El Bleedo.
It's Illbleed.
Yeah,
Like ILL, you're sick.
I prefer my version.
The bleed.
What Carrier's on that system too? But
I don't know if that's
not
good
a
or
very
not.
good one. Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's a few on the Wii that are pretty obscure, like Ju-On, the Grudge.
Yeah, the Grudge
Haunted House Simulator.
Yeah.
The Calling. Oh,
I still need to
Cursed
play
Mountain.
The Calling. I have The Calling. Actually, I have
Cursed
Ju-On.
Mountain is an actual good game.
Cursed Mountain looked pretty good. Yeah.
People should seek that one out. That's a
That's
good
getting
deep
hard to
cut
find
for the
now,
Wii.
and I don't think it's really getting expensive or anything. It's just plain hard to find. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
you can get it online, but on store shelves, it's just I don't see it anymore.
I think there's a PC version of it, but
Are you serious?
Yeah, but it was only released in Europe, and it doesn't emulate it doesn't redesign its controls, because like it's supposed to be based around there are some certain things you have to use motion controls for in the game, and they don't design it out of the PC version, so it's like awkward. You have to do whatever you were doing with the mouse.
Oh no.
So just play the Wii version.
Oh,
Just
by the way, before I forget,
stick with it. Manhunt 2. Oh god.
Luminaire and I both mentioned this earlier, but just for the record to answer this question, Weird Dreams for DOS, the Amiga, and
I guess you
Commodore
could consider
64.
that a horror game.
I mean, like, the game's unplayable. Like, it has the most broken gameplay I've ever seen, but like, it's so cool to look at.
Dark
Was
Seed.
that the one with like the floating mouth?
Yeah, it was the one where everything's a freaking mouth.
I knew it.
Actually, Peanut Butter Gamer did a video of that too, and he mentioned that it took him like an hour to beat the game with the unlimited lives cheat because the game's freaking broken. It's not even like he's bad; like everybody's bad at that game. And there's what was it?
Rise of Nightmares, but that's not good.
Oh, for the Kinect.
The Kinect, yeah.
Fall of Nightmares.
Rise of Nightmares actually looks kind of cool just to like see weird stuff.
There's that light gun game we played, the 4D one.
That was freaking scary. That was actually scary. I got too spooked after the first level. I made it through the first level, and I was like,
he was visibly not having a good time.
Well, I kind of was, but it was getting too spooky for me. Like for real, it was like. What the game is you're in a pod. It's one of those like 3D like at the arcade, like you're in an enclosed area. So you sit down in a pod. You can choose whether or not you want to play the game in 3D. So we have 3D glasses. It's a light gun game. The volume's loud as hell. It's echoing all around you because of the surround sound system.
It blows wind at you.
Yeah, it blows wind at you when you're like getting fresh air in the game, etc. It's like it's trying to be like 4D. I know the fourth dimension is time. Shut up. But like you know what it means. And it was a freaky game. I mean, the game is very basic. It's like there are zombies killed, but it was super creepy.
Yeah, it's by Namco. I forget the name of it.
Oh, last one. It's not obscure at all, but has anyone in this group played Alien Isolation?
Oh, it's a great game.
No, but that's Amnesia with the alien.
I've played it a little bit. I haven't
It's
really
freaky.
gotten much
I heard the second half gets a little weaker because you're capable of fighting back because you have the flamethrower, but the first half of the game is the worst. You're just like, oh no.
That's like the last third or so. But yeah.
Third, okay.
I downloaded it a year ago. I'm ready and raring to go to play it at any point. But as you guys know, backlog.
Yeah, of course.
The original Alien vs Predator for the PC freaks me the fuck out pretty easily still these days.
Actually,
ironically, I heard it was because of system limitations or sound and stuff.
Well, I was actually gonna.
It's scary.
Well, I was actually gonna mention that. I was gonna mention this, but Luminaire, you might be thinking of the Jaguar release because the Alien game on the Jaguar is freaky because there's no sound when the aliens move. You can't hear their footsteps. So like, all of a sudden you just take damage. You're like, what? And you turn around and the alien's just up your ass, and it's terrifying because you can't hear it coming.
Yeah, that's what I remember from the AVGN review.
Yeah, that makes for a very good horror experience, but that's like, it's technically a fault, but it's super freaky.
Unintended horror.
Yeah, like, it arguably makes the horror better, but it's kind of a worse game because you just take damage because you can't hear them coming. What are you gonna do? Spin around in an FPS all the time?
If you play FPS, yes, you get used to that.
Ugh, barf.
But I think we hit a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of
obscure games.
So
there.
I think we only have time for one more question before I probably have to call it quits.
Obscure and non-obscure.
The second question I think we could answer more quickly because there's only really one answer you can give. This is from Thakathon. Actually, it's kind of funny. Luminaire, you had asked the people at the Blistered Thumbs panel at MagFest this question a few years back. This is kind of like your question again.
Even I don't remember this, but go on.
Yeah. If you could mix franchises together, character-wise, gameplay-wise, etc., what would they be? And the guy gives his own example. He says, I would like to see the fight between Vulcan and Snake, like Metal Gear Solid 3, done in the God Hand style. Wouldn't that be cool? So, like, if you could mix franchises together somehow, what would you do?
Wow, I totally don't remember asking this question, and now I also totally want to remember what the hell their answers were.
My answer was kind of weak.
Fire Emblem and Persona. Oh, no, wait. No, I don't.
Actually, the answer I gave at the...
Pokemon and Nobunaga's in... Oh, shit.
Persona and Fire Emblem?
Yeah. No, the answer I had given at the time was kind of weak, because I had said Silent Hill and God of War just because imagine Kratos' sins, but, like, gameplay, that'd be stupid. I actually have a better answer now. I would like to see a 2D fighter done with the Axis Works engine. Axis Works is the Guilty Gear guys. I would love to see a crossover of Guilty...
Axis System Works, I think.
Axis System Works. I would love to see a crossover of...
Arc System Works.
Arc System Works, that's right.
I would love to see a crossover of Guilty Gear and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because they're both really quirky fighters with musical references. It would just be the musical reference weird fight, like, of the century, because the JoJo characters have stands on Hamon, and Guilty Gear characters have God knows what for each character. It wouldn't be the best game ever, but it'd be fun to see.
Yeah, somebody else can take it.
Yeah.
Because mine's a little long-winded.
I think I remember what inspired that question. It's because I always thought that, and this was before, like, DBZ games, Dragon Ball Z games came out for, like, the PS2, GameCube, and onwards, but I always thought that the Power Stone system from Capcom would make for a great Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, like before Tenkaichi happened?
Yeah, like Dreamcast era Power Stone system for... But that's mainly because they literally have, like, a Super Saiyan character, Wantong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, straight up.
And it uses Spirit Bomb and everything like that, and maybe that's partially...
They should combine Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Quest.
I was going to say, pretty much my favorite mashup has already happened a while ago. With Metroidvanias.
Oh, okay.
With Castlevania and Metroid.
And Castlevania Symphony of the Night and onward.
I would love for there to be a purer version of Mega Man combining with that type of game as well.
That would be pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
There are attempts at something like that with
ZX to an extent.
I was gonna say ZX and Zero are kind of like that.
It's ZX Advent.
Yeah. But they aren't quite Metroidvanias. So they're close to it, but not quite.
Yeah, no, that's why I
would
them.
like it,
I felt
a purer version of. Like,
yeah, they were missing something.
They were good. I liked them a lot, and especially when that series needed some new life in them. Those games were pretty good. I liked ZX in particular. ZX1 I really loved.
Yeah.
I
Advent,
would really like there to
become the bosses.
Yeah, I would really like there to be like a Castlevania Metroid progression, but also have like a lot of projectiles and like really good projectile based fighting and things like that. Like not quite like Metroid. Metroid has projectiles, of course, but like more of the Mega Man style of dodging and jumping and all that kind of stuff.
Speaking of, I just love a new Metroid Prime, for God's sakes.
Well, we got one. You just don't want it.
Incidentally, I was actually thinking of, I wanted Legend of Zelda to cross Skyrim, but it looks like the Call of the Wild is sort of approaching that.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild, yeah.
Breath of the Wild, yeah. So
It looks like it's getting there, yeah.
I don't think it's going to be as open as people think it's going to be.
Yeah, but I don't
think it's
want
going to be more.
But at the same time, I don't want it to be that open. Like, you know, what good is a sandbox if there's nothing in it? Like, I don't want just space. You know, like,
Plus,
it needs something big, not huge.
No, if it was a cross between like Skyrim and the new Tomb Raider games,
oh man,
I think that's a good.
I love that.
I think that's a very good mix for Zelda to go in.
I love cinematic platformers in general. You know, I love the Uncharted games. I love the new Tomb Raider games. I love and I love the Prince of Persia games. I love everything that's like that. So like, if you combine anything with that, I love it. You know.
But that was my main problem with Skyward Sword, which I couldn't finish, and it was this semblance of archaicness when, at the time, I'm playing games like Batman: Arkham City and L.A. Noire, which just blew my mind in terms of how open world adventure games should be, and just by comparison, I like the 1-to-1 Wiimote swordplay, but it really did feel a generation behind. But I think they're in the right direction with Breath of the Wild.
I think so, and they started going with like that with Link Between Worlds, which was a fantastic game. I really loved it.
I just love that the idea of low rule as the opposite.
That's really clever. Yeah,
that's all it needs to be a good Zelda game. Low rule. Pyro, did you have
Pyro, you got anything?
Example yet?
I've been trying to think of some as the three of you have been talking, and the only one that I can think of is, and it's probably been done, but one of the reasons why I like Borderlands is because it's like a Diablo first-person shooter, but I'm wondering what a more Diablo-like game that was more humorous and was more based on guns. It's probably been done, but I really like isometric RPGs like that. So
Barkley 2 is going to be like that, actually.
Yep.
Barkley's Shut Up and Jam Gaiden 2.
So I guess my prayers have been answered.
So so you want a isometric gun Diablo?
Well, I don't think Barkley 2 is isometric, but I think it's like kind of, sort of. I mean, you're not moving with squares, but like, yeah, it still is a run and gun though, and it plays like RPG-ish, like in that sense.
Did anybody else play Transistor?
No,
I have
but
not.
I love that
I
game.
did get it, but I didn't play it yet.
I played Bastion.
I played that
lot more though. Wait, what was the second one was the Baconing. What was that called?
Are you talking about oh god.
Those goofy
Yeah,
Diablo
I know what
games.
you're talking about. What was it called?
This I have no idea.
Give me a second.
There were two of them. Thongs of Virtue or something.
Wait.
It was... I forget what the main character's name was.
Deathspank. That's what it is.
Yeah, Deathspank. Thongs of Virtue. Yeah.
Those are pretty good. But I thought those are too, like, on the... I guess Borderlands is on the nose, too. But I like with the style, I guess, of it. Another game that might be cool, and this is just because it's what I'm thinking of, and so stick with isometric, but like a Persona, like a Mega 10 game that was in an isometric action game.
Okay.
That would be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be neat.
Or you could summon demons, and either you're playing as the demons, or you summon Persona type things and use those for abilities.
So sort of like a SRPG Disgaea style?
Kind of,
but
I guess.
An action game, though.
But yeah, like an action game. So it's like, because I don't like SRPGs, so I'm thinking like an action RPG isometric game that's like, because when you think about it, the Mega 10 games and the Persona games now with Persona 5, you have swords and guns, and you summon personas, so it's really just like your class is your persona, and you have your weapons, and your skills are you summoning it. So that would be actually.
Have you played the Shadowrun games that have been coming out lately?
Yeah, but those are more SRPGs. I would say they're more like even. I guess you could say
they're not
kind
action
of like
games. Yeah, I
Baldur's Gate
that.
kind of.
Gotcha.
I've only played the first Baldur's Gate.
So yeah, I think I do know that there's a lot of stuff coming out with emphasis on Dark Souls style gameplay.
Yeah.
That people are trying to mash up into other things, and I think that's really neat. Even Shovel Knight has some Dark Souls-ish things about it.
Yeah, and Zombie U.
Shovel Knight's great, and I will take anything that comes to resembling Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bloodborne.
Which, as much as I love Dark Souls, and my God, have I become a big Dark Souls fan lately, Bloodborne is its own unique beast.
The atmosphere in Bloodborne, I think, is the one that I prefer out of all of them.
Yeah, Victorian horror.
Love Victorian horror.
It's scarier than nothing beats Dark Souls for the level design overall, but the Bloodborne aesthetics and the battle combat and the tension, because you never feel safe. You can't block. It's all dodging.
I'm terrible at that.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, I also like when shmups are combined with stuff, but it's never been done really, really well. But whenever somebody attempts it, I'm always excited.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one called how was it? Sigma Star Saga, for the GBA, which is like an RPG mixed with a shmup. It's not fantastic, but it's a cool thing that I like. I also liked that Nier kind of combined RPGs, action RPGs, and shmups in a way. Like there was kind of like a bullet hell aspect to Nier, which was neat.
Like the Kingdom Hearts 2 gummy ship.
Yeah, there are some bosses that are very much bullet hell bosses.
The Kingdom Hearts gummy ship
in
last
3D.
level was freaking absurd. Or Kingdom Hearts 2's last gummy ship level was like a straight up bullet hell.
Nier was surprising with the bullet hell level of difficulty with the bosses. Like it was like a bullet hell in 3D. It was really neat. I also like it when they combine things like an ultra action game like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry with another genre. Like if you mix that with a Metroidvania, I think it would be much better.
Metal Gear Revengeance was pretty good. If Platinum Studios just had another year to work on it, it would have been one of the best action games I think there could be. But like when I heard that the game was going to be canceled, but then they transferred over to Platinum, I just got so psyched for it. And even then, considering it feels lackluster, Platinum is just so superb when it comes to controls. Like Vanquish is still the best controlling third-person shooter in existence.
It's great.
Yeah, that game is nuts.
So I think we hit on a lot there
for sure,
and I think we have some good ones and stuff for people to kick around. We have 2 more questions in the queue. Please definitely keep contributing.
Absolutely.
I want to definitely answer your questions. I also wanted to let everybody know that we are moving forward with our other plans on the website. So there may be a time when we can announce more stuff, but we are gradually moving forward.
Yes. Work is slow.
We're all of us are adults, and we're working in our spare time on it.
I like
for
to
no
pretend
pay
I'm
at all.
not an adult, though.
Yeah. Yes, but in fact we're putting money into it. But we are gradually getting there. And please do not forget that you can subscribe to this podcast via iTunes, the Corrective Consciousness podcast, on that page, so you can also give us a review on there. You can also subscribe to the RSS feed directly through SoundCloud, and you can also contact me directly through the SoundCloud. You can. I fielded a couple questions from there. Definitely, we accept comments and all that good stuff as well. So in addition to commenting on the comments on the YouTube version of this podcast, we do have other versions. Please definitely keep doing what you're doing and keep giving us suggestions, keep giving us questions. We love it, and we'll keep at it.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to Vice the Cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you all.
Thanks thanks for having me on. It was great. I hope to do it again.
Yeah, thanks
Absolutely.
for coming.
Yep.
All right, we'll catch everybody next week on next Tuesday.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Night.
See ya.